Let's freaking go. Right off the jump here, Esteban and Johnny 5, strong members of the Booger Band Club. Yes, sir. Yes, freaking sir. I'm so excited. I'm so excited, baby. I know it's supposed to be a sad day because Dwight McGLOTHERN has entered the transfer portal, but it wasn't so sad because MEKHI GARNER and Joe Big Play Foucher has decided to commit, so much so that Tyrann Mathieu has also tweeted out his excitement that a fellow New Orleans has decided to commit. And remember, Big Play Foucher is a little bit on the older side. So you're getting a guy that's going to be in the prime of his career. And this is one thing that I want you to take away from the Joe transfer, okay? Shout out to Johnny 5. Shout out to Esteban. This comment is for you, okay? How many of you watched the national championship game last night? I know a lot of you did because you hung out with our national championship companion show. And the one thing that I found to be so fascinating is that, the story was about the true freshman, right? Keely Ringo had the big pick six, even though he's a true sophomore still. Ajayi Hall, a true freshman, had to step up for Alabama. The guy who caught the game-winning touchdown pass, the last two touchdown passes for Georgia were two true freshmen. But to me, the story of the game were the transfers, right? So Stetson Bennett, a transfer. Jameson Williams gets hurt. Bama's offense goes to trash. And what did I tell you during the game? To live bet Georgia right when the Jameson Williams injury happened because Bama's offense is just not as good without him. But the guy that I really want you to focus on is a guy who played in last night's game. And this is going to tie into Joe Foucher, okay? The guy who helped us win a national championship was on the field last night. His name was Darian Kendrick, right? And Darian Kendrick was a 5-star wide receiver who got moved to defensive back once he got to Clemson. Now, Darian Kendrick was one of the many Clemson defensive backs who we chalk outlined in the national championship game. And he was the one that had the huge game-changing pass interference call on Terrace Marshall, where instead of getting the football in good field position, we're able to continue to drive and get the 28-17 touchdown right before the half. So this is what's really key. Darian Kendrick last night was a 5th-year defensive back for Georgia, and he was the best player on the field. He was dominant last night for Georgia. He was dominant for them in the semifinal. Age matters, right? Joe Foucha, however you pronounce his last name, was incredible this year for Arkansas. He dominated the Outback Bowl with an interception. I've watched his whole career. And in that class, there were so many good 3-star defensive backs. There was Israel Mukamu out of who went to South Carolina and got drafted last year. And I loved Big Play Foucher, right? I hope Joe has the same impact on our defense next year that Darian Kendrick had on Georgia's defense. Now, they play different positions. One's more of a safety type. The other's just a pure corner. But that's going to be the big difference. You've got to hammer this transfer portal. And that's what Brian Kelly is going to do, right? And look, now that Joe is he's going to be our starting safety next year. Jay Ward needs to move back to corner. I do agree with that. We welcome in Mick. I hope you're feeling better, Mick. Ooh, me and King Ulysses chatted a lot. We need to hop on a phone call soon. Jillian Billingsley is definitely someone I'm interested. So yeah, I'm definitely interested in Billingsley. Chris, you had a question before the live stream. Ask it again. I'm gonna try and get to it. Tommy, I love it. So Tommy with the throwback photo here. I want to show this. I'm dedicating part of the live stream tonight. I love it when you guys rep the PHL merch. And look at Johnny right here. Okay, look at Johnny. Okay, we get a car selfie. Johnny is rocking the cards that yours truly sent him, part of his Booger Band order. He's got some championship rings. I don't know if they're authentic. If they are, Johnny, I want to know which player you beat up for it. And look at Johnny. He's got the shades on. He's repping PHL with the cards, baby. But this is what it's all about right here. Boom! Johnny repping the Booger Band Club. That's what it's all about, Johnny. I want to just show you some love, man. I really appreciate you. Loki wants to know about Eric Reed. I hope so. I hope our defensive backfield is all transfers next year. Why the F not? This is the new world. And look, I got off the phone with someone that I met today, and he was complaining, hey, I don't like the transfer portal. I think it's ruining college football. Okay? So there's two different ways you can go about this conversation. The first is that we could sit here and complain about it. Or you can adjust. The cat is not going to get back into the bag, folks. There will be some form of transfer portal legislation down the road. I just don't know when that's actually going to happen. At some point, things will change, though. What's up, Max? The defensive line and pressure won the game for Georgia, not their secondary. Build a monster up front. Roy Guillory, Smith. I think it was both. I also think Georgia's blitz packages were also really good. But honestly, the main reason why Georgia won that game, Todd Monken got aggressive when his quarterback was struggling. A lot of coaches do the opposite. When the quarterback starts to suck and their pass protection starts to break down, they just start running the football. Todd Monken did the opposite. So I think Georgia did a really good job of getting vertical. They hit their two deep shots in the game, and that was the difference, right? Stetson Bennett's not good, but he was good when he needed to be. And the bottom line is another thing that I wanted to, start this live stream off with. You got to have all three levels, but you also have to have a defensive coordinator that can blitz the heck out of Bryce Young, and Matt House is definitely that guy. It's amazing. What's really good about the national championship game is that it's the only game every single one of us just sit down and watches from start to finish, right? You saw how exotic the blitz packages were in that game. And when you watch that game, you see how idiotic it was that LSU decided to never blitz and run man coverage on every snap. Before the Alabama game, we were the least blitzing team in the country. We only blitzed on 7% of our snaps, which obviously isn't acceptable. So, obviously, you have to have all three levels. And Matt House hopefully can be that next Dan Lanning for us. Ed, thank you for the super chat, man. Ed, you got to shoot me your address. I got to get some Booger Bands to you in the mail. You sent me a check, man. I appreciate you. Let's see. Let's go to Brian here. Welcome, Brian, to the channel. Jamar Kane has helped. Once again, Brian or Max or both of you, please change your avatar. I need to see your beautiful faces because you and Max have very similar avatars. It's hard, right? I want to see you guys repping LSU like Tommy. I love Let Us Pray. Edo did a good job of getting talent on the DL compared to Miles. That's debatable. Miles got really good defensive linemen too. But, Ed took us to another level. Nathan, good to see you. This once again, top 5 profile photo right here. Caucus. I love it. So Ed super chat question: any news on the Cortez Hankton hire possibility? There's no news. Once again, I think Hankton is deciding whether or not he wants to come or not. Once again, the ball's in his court. It looks as if this is going to be his job to lose. At the same time, I don't think you should panic too much about that hire. And that's not saying Hankton isn't going to be great. It's just until we see it, LSU has never had a shortage on wide receivers. It's never happened. I know a few years ago they moved Jacoby Stevens to wide receiver, which never really made a whole lot of sense, but they did it. But outside of that, LSU has never had to really panic for wide receivers, right? So, Hankton is a very good hire. You get a national championship winning coach. But at the same time, one of my big things about coaches is I like coaches who haven't won anything, right? Because when they get to their next stop, they're going to do whatever it takes to finally get that ring. Obviously, if you're Hankton, you look at your career right now, and yes, you get to go back home and you would get a pay raise to come back home to LSU. But at the same time, it's a lateral move, right? Unless you become an offensive coordinator. So it just depends on what Hankton wants out of his career. Does he want to move back home or does he want to stay at Georgia? I support him either way. Starting to get bad. Cliche, welcome to the channel. Everyone welcome Cliche. Why would Dwight enter the portal as a clear-cut best DB? One more season, he has the potential to be a first-round pick. Who is advising these kids? Well, Cliche, this is not to sound cliche. This is just the truth, okay? And Johnny Five and Esteban and people like Jared, who have been around the channel for a while, knows how I feel about this, okay? These are college kids. Their livelihoods change in an instant. And the one person you spend the most time with in college is your strength and conditioning coach. Okay. So a lot of these kids are still upset that Tommy Moffitt's gone. There's no other way around it. But Tommy Moffitt leaves. Your defensive back coach leaves. You're about to have your third coordinator in 3 years. This was bound to happen, right? Even guys that have clear-cut starters snaps, okay? So we do have a bunch of new viewers in here. Once again, if you are a new viewer, please let me know. I go straight to your question. But to get your question to the front of the line, Venmo, Cash App, Super Chat, all the good stuff. And then this is basically it. Good to see you, Luke. Big Al. I've been thinking about you a lot lately, man. Keep me up to date. We haven't talked a lot about Joseph Evans. So Esteban, Super Chat, he wants to talk about Joseph Evans. I want to talk about Joseph Evans. Johnny Five, let me know what you want to talk about. You Super Chatted a little bit before the channel began. Jacob. Ooh, Jacob getting spicy. Don't come here with Jermaine Burton rumors. My question for you, Jacob, do you want Jermaine Burton back after what he did to LSU? I don't think that there's a whole lot of Jermaine Burton fans in here. He's good, though. He's good. He just kind of looks like an NFL receiver, right? Jermaine Burton reminds me a lot of Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's not a burner, but he's just good, right? He's strong, he's physical, runs really good routes, obviously puts a lot of work into his craft. But yeah, that would be a crazy career. Being from California, win a title at Georgia, then you go back to the school that you initially committed to, right? These kids, I mean, it's just so different, right? So let me share this with you. The comparison I kept making to Stetson Bennett was Matt Flynn, right? They're so similar, right? quarterbacks that waited their turn, which was never clear. It was never clear that Matt Flynn was eventually going to get his opportunity to start. Jamarcus Russell could have easily come back. But they just waited. They put in the work. It wasn't always the prettiest. They don't run 4.3s. They don't have cannon of an arms. They just get the job done. They're dual threats, but really watered down dual threats, but they're clutch as you know what. I saw a lot of Matt Flynn from Stetson Bennett. I think Matt Flynn is still a better quarterback than Stetson Bennett, but you could see the similarities there. And I was really happy for Stetson Bennett last night. And he was clutch. He was really clutch last night. Fishful thinking fishing. Okay, so you say you're a longtime watcher, but all I ask is for someone to take me fishing. That's it. That's it. My girlfriend's beloved dad was supposed to take me fishing, but he had to have surgery. Everything went well. Actually, he wasn't ever supposed to take me fishing, but he is a fisherman. And we have professional fishermen that watch this channel. And now we have fishful thinking fishing commenting for the first time. But this is true, right? I just hate to see kids leave and never not hear about them again. Mo Hampton, for example. Yeah, Mo Hampton is just a sad example of obviously an Ed Orgeron casualty, basically. I thought he was very promising. I loved me some Mo Hampton. That was one of my wrongest takes, that I thought he was going to be like a Dante Jackson, Jamal Adams type of talent for us. I didn't think he'd be like that good, but I thought he was going to be really good. And I don't know what happened to Mo Hampton. I never understood it. Like when he played in 2019, he had that legendary hit on Jalen Hurts, and I was like, what the heck happened? Right? But I love you, fishful thinking, because you got to be a diehard LSU fan even to remember Mo freaking Hampton. Mo freaking Hampton. Oh, man. But, yeah, life happens. Something else that happens, fishful thinking, and it does happen probably more than you think. This isn't Mo Hampton's case. I'm just saying this aloud. A lot of kids, when they get on campus and they practice with other athletes that are as fast as they are, they just can't handle competition. They see that they're not good enough to make it to the NFL. They see that they're not good enough to be a Division I athlete. And, they just kind of fade away, right? They finish out their scholarship, get their degree, and move on with their life. Happens a lot more than you think. Once again, that's not Mo Hampton example. I'm just saying, if you see a lot of kids just fade into oblivion, a lot of it is it's just too much. College football, while it is very fortunate, and every single one of you watching right now would do anything to be an LSU football player, that's not the case. It's not the case for a lot of kids. There's not a lot of Duke Rileys or Foster Moreaus out there that, are just going to outwork everyone and eventually, make it to the NFL. Not many people are built that way. It's hard. It really is hard. Tubboat! Killer bees. My cousin hit the transfer portal this offseason. Defensive back transfer university. DBTU. Oh, you're from Charleston? I keep hearing South Carolina is like the best state. Ironically, we have a lot of viewers in South Carolina. And ironically, I still do some ESPN radio stuff for ESPN Upstate. I love me some South Carolina, even though I've never been there. It's weird to do a radio show, like a local radio show for a state you've been in once your entire life, and you're in there for like just a few hours. I've been to South Carolina a few times. I've just never spent a night there. I probably should. You don't have to be lonely at farmersonly.com. It's my favorite. Farmersonly.com. I love it. In the upstate, Spartanburg. Love it. I freaking love it. Dang, Danny said, Dwight, don't let the door hit you on the way out. Danny just here's the thing I don't like about you, Danny. There's the only thing I don't like about you. Okay. So a few weeks ago, Haley heard Danny in a Twitter space, and she was like, "Go, Danny!" And you were given, one of your usual takes. Then on my live stream, you commented, Danny, and you said, "Yeah, I'm just boring and not that interesting." I'm like, "No, you're not, Danny. You tell it like it is, like it's nobody's business." I freaking love it. That's the only thing I like about you, Danny, is that you're like, yeah, my takes aren't too spicy. I'm boring. No, you're not, Danny. Like the whole chat lights up, especially your number one fan, Mick. Bo Hampton's playing baseball at Sanford. What's up, Ahmad? Ahmad, you've been in and out, man. I think you've been cheating on me with other channels. I don't like that, Ahmad. I'm kidding. There's so many good LSU content channels out there. Yeah, Pegasus. So here's something else, right? About the transfer portal. Because there's a lot of people that piled on a Georgia defensive back who won a national championship. He was a starter. Keely Ringo passed him up, and he entered the transfer portal a few hours ago. And just last night, he was waving the Georgia flag. And he would play a lot in Georgia's secondary next year if he decided to come back. So what? Okay. So what? And everyone's like, well, you just won a national championship. You know the grass isn't always greener. But have you seen Kirby Smart coach? Like, you have to be a certain type of person to play for that guy. Kirby will murder you. Okay, he's hard on Georgia defensive backs, right? Because he played the position, and that's look at all his DB. Look at all the every defensive back coach he's ever worked with was great, right? Mel Tucker used to be his D-back coach, so maybe the safety, what was his name? Something Speed or something like that. Maybe the kid just doesn't want to play for Kirby anymore. You want a title. You just want a different D-back coach. You want to go do something else. And here's something else to keep in mind, okay? While we are all LSU fans, these kids that go to these Division I universities are recruited by everyone, right? So while I'm disappointed in Dwight McGLOTHERN, while I think Dwight McGLOTHERN is making really an all-time bad decision, I really do think this is such a terrible decision he's making, because you are the starter for the number one defensive back brand in the country, okay? So not only let's just say Dwight McGLOTHERN doesn't play that well this next year. Well, it's so much easier to make it in the NFL when you have that brand attached to your name. It just is, because there's LSU defensive backs on squads all around the league, right? They'll put in a good word for you. They will, right? They'll even if their word doesn't mean anything to a franchise, they'll hook you up with the best private D-back coaches. They'll get you on with the people that can, really change your life. And McGLOTHERN is now just floating amongst the atmosphere. And honestly, if we're being as honest as we possibly can about Dwight McGLOTHERN, he's good. But is he locked down? You don't have to worry about his side of the field good? No, he's not. And I've always felt this way. He's really good, which is why a few weeks ago, when, I did a community page post about Cordell Flott, right? I said, give me your thoughts on Cordell Flott. Who do you think is the best member of the secondary? So many of you said McGLOTHERN. And, I never shared this opinion. I think it's Sage Ryan. I do. Once again, health plays a big role with Sage Ryan. He becomes even more important to our secondary now. But the bottom line is, let's not act like McGLOTHERN is an Eli Ricks level loss, or, obviously he's not Peterson, but, Fulton, no, he's nowhere close to Fulton. He's nowhere close to like a Dante Jackson level player, Jalen Mills. He's just not that level. Now he can be, but he's just not. So, my point is not that he's not as good as those guys. It's just that you have to be that good as those guys for you to be a significant loss, right? So the thing is, the loss had more to do with the depth at the position than it did Dwight himself, right? So, I wish Dwight the best. I would still welcome him back with open arms. I want him to dominate wherever he wants to go. And he has said and done all the right things. When Eli Ricks entered the transfer portal, Dwight McGLOTHERN was one who tweeted out, I don't remember exactly what he tweeted out, but he was like, "Go Tigers, we're still DBU." But things change. Maybe he doesn't jive well with the new coaches. Maybe the new defensive back coaches, whatever the reason may be, I wish him the best. But if we're being honest, his loss once again has more to do with how thin we are. And we answered a lot of depth questions today. And I think that's not going to change. Shout out to Van. Once again, as many of you know, Van, one of our 3 PHL guests, working on plenty of more. Justin Vincent has committed to come on this channel. I would cry if we don't actually get that done. He's obviously a really busy guy with, basketball right now being as successful as it is. But the portal did save us today. So Van and I were talking earlier today, and, it didn't save us. We still need to cross our fingers and hope Demarius McGee or Ray Darius Jones turns out to be really good football players. We're going to need it. We're absolutely going to need us. Key Matt, welcome to the channel. I think this is your first super chat. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Matt, for jumping on. First comment is a super chat. Thank you so much, man. I think Don's first ever comment was a super chat. I think Ed Reeder's first ever comment was a super chat. I appreciate you. Heard Bama had 3 players hit the portal today. It's going to be interesting to see how they keep all their players with NIL deals happy. Yeah, once again, there was 2 players who played last night a lot that hit the portal. So it's crazy. Bear Bryant's grandson, Paul Tyson, hit the portal today. Big body QB. Could be something to look into. Who is Bear Bryant's grandson? It's funny. Van, have you ever heard of this guy? Who is it? Paul Tyson? I've never seen him play a lick. I've never seen him play a lick. I I could see why he transferred. I heard Ty Simpson is a real freaking deal. See, I've never even heard. I didn't even know that kid was Bear Bryant's grandson. I learn new things every day. Paul Bryant Tyson is his name, Mark? It's crazy. You and Jason both sent that. Okay. So let me say this really quickly. I think. Okay. So, first off, this is a funny thing right here. Okay. Second thing, shout out to Aaron. Let's go. I've never seen this kid play a lick. I've never seen him play a lick. I just got to tape my mouth shut on this one. I'll never lie to you and say that kid, he's the next Stetson Bennett. I still can't believe last night that Georgia got beat by Stetson Bennett and Ladd McCoskey. That is what took the great Alabama down. Two guys you think would have rushed Kappa Sig took Bama down. Two guys that you would trust with your accounting more than Division I college football at its highest level took Bama down. I love it. I will say this. Jared, thank you for the super chat. I will say this. So I shared this on Twitter. They did an interview with the defensive MVP last night, Scene, and Nakobe Dean, right? So they did an interview with them at the Under Armour All-American game 4 years ago. And those kids say, I want to win a championship. I want to destroy Bama. Those are the kind of kids we need, right? Not the kids that say, I want to go to the place that can get me to the league quickest. I want kids that say, I want to go win a national championship. Those are the kinds of guys that we need. Now, they also were top 100 players, and they both run 4.5s. We need those kind of guys as well. But, you know, we need that. Coach Smith said no one else has seen him either. Ryan Leaf was 7'10". Who remembers Ryan Leaf? I want to say this, right? So, man, guys, I'm not going to lie. I don't get emotional over college football stuff all that often. The Kev Falk stuff got me. The Kev Falk press conference. I don't know if you guys saw that. That crap just got me, right? We owe so much to this guy for making LSU football cool, right? We're probably not sitting here right now if it wasn't for Kev Falk, you know, really getting us going, and then Saban taking us to the next level. And him getting this College Football Hall of Fame is a big deal. Now, it's not as big a deal to me, even though I'm a fan of his, but to our older LSU fans, once again, if you're in your mid-30s and under, you weren't really around to see Kev do his thing, right? And you weren't there for the Hallman years and all that stuff. It's a big deal that he gets this, right? And to me, he is the most influential LSU back of all time. More so than Fournette, more so than Cannon because of that, right? You know, I mean, once again, I think we tend to forget. My dad tells me this, and he knows more about LSU football during those years than I do. You know, if you were around the Baton Rouge area, Van grew up in Baton Rouge, a lot of you grew up in Baton Rouge, you understood how big of a deal when Warwick Dunn and Major Applewhite and those guys. And Van talked about this in the interview, so I don't want to spend too much. If you want to go back and see our interview with Van Lathan from a few weeks ago, we touched on this. But when Major Applewhite and all those guys were going to like Florida State and Texas, it wasn't cool to go to LSU. And Kev Falk with the Karen Crow hat, that commitment, Jacques Doucet shared a photo of it. It was a big deal. It was a really freaking big deal. So I got emotional because, you know, you can make a strong case that we're not who we are today if it wasn't for Kev Falk. And I hate that he went through, got fired. It made sense. The fire was justified. When you could get Frank Wilson and a new staff and a new head coach, it's going to happen. I hate that what happened to him personally this year. That sucks. I hate all the things that he had to go through this year. It sucks, but I'm glad Kev got to have this moment. Now, y'all, we cannot ignore that BK in interviews puts a lot of emphasis on academic piece, and not all of our current roster will be willing to meet Brian Kelly's needs. Yeah, I think so. I don't know too much about the academic side of it. I will say this, Danny. This is going to have to be really key, right? As far as like the academic stuff is concerned. What the heck happened? Right? This is why, you know, we're all big Ed Orgeron fans, especially if you're from Louisiana. It was a big deal that Ed Orgeron won the national championship for LSU, right? But there is so much gross, I don't want to call it incompetence, but there was just so much mayhem surrounding our program to where we never talk about how strange our academic ineligibility was this year, right? To where one player missed the entire year. We had two players get suspended that are in the 5th and 6th years of their development. So that was Sony Fanua and John Trey Kirkland. They get suspended for the first few weeks of the year. And then at the end of the year, there's more rumors of academic suspensions involving the bowl game, right? That's got to get fixed. Like, it just does. Now, once again, this is coming from someone who really struggled during his time at LSU. Graduated with a 2.7. Not mad about it, not too thrilled about it either. Still, that's got to get fixed, right? So while we do panic some about transfer portals and who is our coordinators going to be and who's our wide receiver coach is going to be, maybe Brian Kelly's trying to figure out what exactly happened there, right? Because the thing is, you can't have a championship team when guys aren't able to play on something that is very fixable. So, you know, we've had stars get suspended in the past. For academics, probably. Yeah, I can't think of any academic suspensions right off the top of my head. But my point is, we had 3 different instances of 3 different players having different levels of suspension. So that means that the academic things that they didn't do were different in nature, right? Carvis, good to see you. All eyes on 3. That's so cool. Yeah, Mo Funky. That was a hard press conference to watch, man. Oh, yeah, I want to see the new shirts, huh? Well, they're actually in here right now. The reason why I'm not showing them to you is because I don't want to sell them yet because there's something else to go along with the shirts. We got a super chat. Carter, you could have coached 2019. I wish I was on that staff. Could you imagine getting to be in a football meeting room with Joe Burrow and Joe Brady and Steve Ensminger? And then if you're on the defensive side, you get to be around, Dave Aranda, Corey Raymond, Grant Delpit, all those guys. I wish I would have been a coach on that team. But I wasn't. Joey being that offensive staff ran the offense, Delpit and Aranda ran the defense. True. Ed Gump was completely incompetent. The success got to him, and he's the reason we're in this trash. No love lost for Ed. I agree. Not with the first part. I couldn't have coached the team. But yes, a lot of this is on Ed. He fumbled the bag. He turned into Chad Morris at the right time. If there was a time to do it after you coach the greatest team of all time. Yeah, I mean, that's it. Just there's no other way around it. It was on him. Once again, I would put what happened to LSU football, I would put it 90% him and 10% other factors. I really do believe this. Ed Orgeron is still the coach if he doesn't run man coverage on every snap. I'm dead serious. He would have won a few more games in 2020, and he would have won a few more games this year, enough to allow him to keep his job, right? Do you really think Scott? So a lot of people actually really do feel this way. They think Scott Woodward wanted to get Ed out so he can make his own football hire. And a lot of athletic directors want to hire their own football coach, right? So there was probably a piece of Scott Woodward that wanted to hire his own guy, right? However, when you're the athletic director, you're not just the athletic director for yourself, you're the athletic director for the whole athletic department. And I don't think anyone's thrilled about hiring or firing the most beloved coach in LSU history and handing him a $17 million check just to walk away. I don't think anybody wanted Ed Orgeron to fail. I think every single one of you wanted him to succeed. But a big reason why we're here is because of him. And this is how I feel as well. I think Danny says it right. Oh, and I hate it when people that don't follow the team come in and say, well, he won a national championship and LSU ran him off. No, every single fan wanted Ed Orgeron to beat Nick Saban and take us to the next level. If you're from Louisiana, it matters that much more, right? I think Jay Hill talked about this. Van talked about this some as well in our interview. We all wanted that. We all wanted him to win 20 gazillion national championships, right? But, things happen. And, a lot of it is the assistant coaches. Yeah, Jason, we're actually talking about this. Who actually do we thank for the Joe Burrow thing, right? We talked about the lawyer Kiva, who just got let go from LSU. She was the one that got the sack of crawfish from Sammy's to Mike Anderson's. But yeah, Bill Bush did play a huge role. Okay. Max here with another super chat. When BK talks about academics, I feel like he's talking about actually making sure that no one is in John Emery's spot again. Yeah. I mean, the John Emery situation was totally avoidable. Once again, the John Emery thing is not why Ed Orgeron got fired. It's just another thing that showed you how bad things got. But here's the thing. What should John Emery do now? What should he do now? Well, John Emery should stay. Let's go to Johnny 5 here. Everyone loves Danny Girl's questions. Who doesn't love a Danny Girl question? I could see BK recruiting more low 4-star, high 3-star recruits from Louisiana kids. I want to be here and get a chance to live their dreams of playing in Tiger Stadium. This is interesting. Okay. So there's two ways you can look at this, Johnny. And this is where it gets spicy, right? So Brian Kelly said in the interview on ESPN, so the guy who was calling the game was a play-by-play broadcaster by the name of Tom Hart. I think it was Tom calling the game. All right. And Tom asked him a question about the transfer portal. And what was interesting about the transfer portal was Brian Kelly said, look, we're going to use the transfer portal, but I want to recruit my own players and develop them the way that I want to develop them. Perfectly fine. So there's two different ways you can look at the Louisiana 3 stars. Okay. The first is offer the kid because they really want to be at LSU, right? Or, Johnny, you can look at this another way. Okay. A Louisiana 3-star is always willing to come back, right? So take Joe, Big Play Foucher, right? He's proven at Arkansas that he's really good. He's a John Battle level safety. He is an SEC starter. Now, is he exceptional? Probably not, but he's really good. And, he's in the prime of his athletic career. He was really good at Arkansas. But if you know in the back of your head that Louisiana kids who grow up dreaming of going to LSU, even when they don't get the LSU offer and they go to somewhere else, they're also willing to come back, right? Major Burns is a good example of that. So what you can do as well as a coach is you can also say, look, go prove it somewhere else and we can also bring you back. It's a very interesting idea. And I heard him say this as well. I also agree with this, Johnny, and I think this is a point you and Carvis are trying to make, is that, well, when we recruited nationally, how many of these kids have actually turned out to be good? Okay. So let's do an exercise, right? Let's go through some of the national top 100 or top 150 level recruits that we got from out of state to LSU. Okay. That we had committed for a long period of time. Let's just go through a few names and let's just decrease the last few years of sample, right? So let's just focus on these last couple of years. And once again, these aren't written down. These aren't in front of me. But let's just go through. All right. So obviously Marcel Brooks came and went. Elias Ricks came and went. Now Dwight McGLOTHERN, out of state, highly ranked recruit. A lot of that has to do with coaching transition. So those are lighter examples. But you look at a guy, once again, like Jermaine Burton, who was committed to you for a long period of time, left. Right? And now you have a lot of these guys. When you start talking about a national blueprint, Eric Gilbert, once again, I don't think anybody here was mad that, we recruited him. But you make a good point here, right? You always go get an Eric Gilbert, right? He caught 35 passes his first year. It was really good for us. But once again, you had the extracurriculars. But the thing you should worry about is when those players don't actually pan out, right? So take Antoine Sampa, right? I was told Antoine Sampa was going to be a multiple year starter coming out of Virginia. I don't know what the deal is there, but he had his opportunity. I mean, there was room for linebacker snaps to be had. Okay. Jordan Tolles is another example. I have no idea what happened to Jordan Tolles. Mohampton is another example. So, when you start talking about, a national blueprint, you start looking, at a lot of these guys that you recruited, that those slots could have gone to some other players that are in your own backyard. So, yeah. Tom just jumps in. The national anthem was horrible last night. That is such a random comment to just jump in. That's just crazy, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to log off here, go into another college football chat and say, you know what? I wasn't feeling Katy Perry's halftime show. And they're talking about the actual game, and everybody be like, what the heck? Who is this Power LSU? And why are we talking about Katy Perry? Pegasus says, you see those low 3-star players in the bowl game? You like the show of talent? Because that's getting dragged by K-State. I know, Tom. Tom, you don't jump into just some chat and say, you know what? This singer who probably waited her entire life to sing the national anthem, I'm going to drag her on a random LSU chat. Well, who it was? Natalie Grant? I thought it was fun. We got Fergie. Where are my Carl Lewis national anthem fans? Where are my Carl Lewis? Dang, fantastic. Look at you. Look at you, man. Fantastic's rocking his Jordan Tolles, Corey Kiner jersey. Was it Natalie Grant who sang the anthem? Oh, yes, Roseanne's national anthem. I forgot about Roseanne. Let me see. Jason sent me an email. Well, you super chatted about it, so I guess I got to check it out. Oh, okay. Wait, Drew Sanders went into the portal? Drew Sanders? I like that. That actually is a position of need. So Drew Sanders, 5-star linebacker, athlete, he played some edge too for them. He's kind of like a Quan Alexander type of player. He's not as good as Quan, but not many people are. But he's one of these versatile, really athletic sideline to sideline guys. I'm down for some Drew Sanders in the portal. I don't know anything about King. Let me see. I'll put the screen. I'll put what you sent me up here. Thanks for the super chat as well. Hilly. What's good? Boom. All right. So this is what a friend of the show, Jason, sent me. We need all the help we can get. So out of these names right here, obviously the first two are the names that I'm most interested in. Jillian Billingsley obviously fills a need for us. I don't know enough about Billingsley, his blocking. Also, he was a really good receiving tight end for Alabama. But this is the big thing about Jillian Billingsley is he put up numbers in an easier offense to put up numbers. So Steve Sarkisian's Bama offense was so daggum good at making mediocre players look unbelievable because they had two transcendent talents healthy in Najee Harris and Devonta Smith. And Sark's offense was different than our offense in 2019 because our 2019 offense was different in that we had an offense where it required you to win matchups, whereas Sark's offense schemed guys open a little bit more. So that's my biggest concern with Jillian Billingsley. You know, we're not Sark's offense, right? Our offense, you gotta have a Michael Mayer type of tight end that can get off jams and all of that. So I don't know too much about Billingsley's ability to get open, and I don't know too much about his ability to block. So Billingsley is obviously the sexiest name on here. I'm a big Drew Sanders guy. Yes. So this is how I feel too. Elias Duran has caused me too much trouble. I would love Drew Sanders to be a part of this team. I think his best football is ahead of him. So I'm a Drew Sanders former 5-star. So he to me is the name that I like the most out of this list. I don't know too much about Paul Pierre Bryant's grandson. I don't know too much about King, the other linebacker here, and I don't know too much about Tommy Brown. But if he's a Bama offensive lineman, obviously, he's got to be like semi-decent, right? So I'm all about it. Jacob says, what about some Michael Trigg? Let's go. I'd love it. I'd love some Michael Trigg, but we shall see. Oh, King Ulysses. You know how much I love me some Siaki Ika. I think Ika could be as good, if not better, than Tyler Shelvin if he's not already. All right, so nothing really on Jacoby Matthews, but let's do it. Let's change the poll question here. Let me know what you guys think about Drew Sanders. Some of you follow Ahmad. I don't know if Ahmad Ross is still in here. He follows recruiting really closely. I would love me some Drew Sanders. We just need any kind of linebacker help we can get, and he's a 5-star. Oh, the Master Blaster can't be in here. The Master Blaster can be in the chat right when Jay Hill jumps in. Oh. Oh God. Oh God, guys. I don't know if I want to do it. Because I won't go to bed tonight if I do this. Danny, you've been begging me to do more transfer portal videos. Well, I'm definitely going to do one on Joe Big Play Foucher. I'm all about it. Is the Master Blaster in here? I don't. Uh-oh. The Master Blaster. He's here, guys and gals. The Master. I love it. So Nick has the Master Blaster photo going on. Tony's got the Fournette jersey. That Texas 8-4 NIL. I know my guy Max is going to love that comment. Not Max Johnson, Max Colina, one of our diehard viewers. The Master Blaster. Danny, I don't know if I can do a Madden breakdown because only Madden could do Madden breakdowns. I would need Pat Summerall. I think this was it too, because Dallas Turner is a monster. I think Drew Sanders saw that game and was like, yeah, I'm never going to play over that guy. It's amazing. Like, Bama's whiffed on so many of these 5-star linebacker edges. They never play. Like, they never even made it. They've had 2 nationally ranked top 5 5-stars never play, and they're still loaded at that position. Okay, so you guys know how I feel about Texas 8-4, okay? I watched a little bit of that coach's film room last night, and I don't know if any of y'all caught it. So we did the first half stream, so I wasn't able to watch it. I was just hanging out with you guys. So afterwards, I was like, okay, I'm going to get to watch, I like the coach's film room. That was the most boring thing I think I've ever seen. In fact, I feel more confident in LSU's future now that I saw Texas A&M's jovial coach's room. They wanted to be everywhere else on the planet Earth instead of in that coach's film room. It is horrible. It was horrible. Like, it was so boring. Like, the other coaches' film rooms were great because they would have like 8 different coaches in a room, and they would just be bouncing off ideas back and forth. It was nails on chalkboard bad. Also, Chris Fowler is good at calling games, right? He's really good. He's a good play-by-play guy. Flojo over Carl for national anthems or like actual track and field? Dwight might go play for Coach Prime. Who wouldn't? Oh, man. Yeah, he's fine. I think a lot of people were like freaking out, like that Andrew Luck looked the way that he looked. He's normal. He's always been a weird guy, right? He never had a fancy car. He always used a flip phone. He was always different. This was a guy who just retired during a preseason game, right? I don't think people understand how wild that is when your franchise quarterback retires. It gets leaked that he retired during a preseason. That was the most bizarre thing. He's a weird dude. He said, "Hey, I'm just enjoying being a dad." I think he looked like how Andrew Luck looked. Like, I would have been concerned seeing him in a suit and tie. But he was good. Oh, I know, Danny. That was such a bad call. You know what's so funny? The number one reason why I'm happy Georgia won is because, like, so they had that. So the Georgia block punt in the national championship game, which was BS, they called offsides when the dude was clearly onside. Here's the thing that pissed me off. All right, is that they missed that call. Right, it was clear that to me was an incomplete pass by Stetson Bennett. It was not a fumble. No one thought that was a fumble. The D-back didn't think it was a fumble. He lucked into the biggest play of his life. He'll never have a bigger play in his life than that. The thing that pissed me off about it, though, is if Georgia would have lost that game, that play would have been Zapruder filmed more than the JFK assassination. I'm dead serious. There would have been Georgia investigations. Birmingham would have been set on fire. And I'm really that's probably the biggest reason why, because once again, these Bama conspiracies. Tell me this. Let me ask you a question. Okay? Do you think there is a real conspiracy that the SEC league offices secretly pull for Bama and they give Bama the calls? Type Y for yes, type N for no, right? Because, we all went through, and Jay Hill, this was, a year before you started playing. Actually, no, this was 2 years. The Patrick Peterson thing, right? How many of you, I want to know, right? How many of you feel, Tony says no, Danny says yes. Birchman, good to hear from you again, man. Thank you for your service as well. Music says yes. Tom T. Tom, I like this better than your national anthem takes. Chet says yes. Stacy says absolutely. As he should be. Like, he was robbed of one of the biggest moments of his illustrious career. I will say Patrick Peterson's INT pick six this past weekend was so swagalicious. That kid plays with such flair for the game. Ray said, I'm still pissed about it too. What's up, Ray? Good to hear from you. Cliff says Stetson Bennett was a fumble. I thought it was an incomplete pass. Tomato, whatever. The point is, I'm just happy that Georgia won, because there would have been violence. There would have been violence of some kind, right? Yes, I know for a fact that Nick has a lake house right next to the commissioners on Lake Jordan. ACC refs last night at the game. That's true. That's true. But they're all still employed by ESPN, though, right? Danny, that's an interesting point. Okay, so we'll bring this up. This is something I've pondered today as well. So I've tweeted a lot about that game last night. It was a pretty legendary game. It's one of the best title games ever. It's definitely the best one since Watson to Renfro. Type Y for yes, type N for no. Does Bama win the game if they have MEKHI and Jameson Williams? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Does Bama win the game if they have MEKHI and Jameson Williams? Like they did in the first one. Coach says no way. Yes. Tony says no. Absolutely. Bertrand says no. Sip says no. My honest opinion is I think Jay Hill's right. It's amazing like how much Jameson Williams changed that offense. So once he went out, once if you're with us from the beginning, you also heard it last night on the stream. I said immediately go bet Georgia live because Bama's offense just isn't as good, and they've always, not a wide receiver shortage per se, but Slade Bolden is good. He's not great, right? He just kind of gets schemed open. He just kind of gets open, right? Jameson Williams gets other people open, and Bama's receivers did miss a lot of 50-50 balls. Ajayi Hall missed one. Ja'Cory Brooks missed one. I'll tell you this, I'm not so scared of Bama's receivers next year unless they get another one from Ohio State in the portal. Or if Jameson Williams decides to come back, which would obviously piss me off a lot. Big House says, yeah, true. I would look when Kayshawn went down. True. Yeah. Ironically, that was a receiver. It was Ajayi Hall who dropped that ball. Yeah, that was a big drop. Yeah, what's funny? DWIGHT's trainer posted along Instagram about what he thinks happened there. Different people recover at different speeds. I just hate it that this happens this close. Jameson had 4 for 65. He was going deep on them. So something else I think happened in the second half of this game. Okay, so I'll pull this up really quickly. I tweeted a thread about this earlier. Okay, and this is why I'm not on fire about Bill O'Brien as a coach, and why I didn't want him to be the offensive coordinator and or the head coach. So I hated let me see. Oh, I gotta pull this up. Okay, there we go. All right, so I hated this play right here. Okay, and we'll get back into LSU stuff in just a second. I thought this play call was awful. So it's 3rd and 10 here, and you're not going to get all 10 of the yards with the DBs playing off coverage like this. You're not going to get all 10 of the yards with backup receivers, right? So what you want to do is for those that watched the Chargers Raiders game, the one thing the Chargers did a good job of, Joe Lombardi, who used to be with the Saints, is that he never tried to force the football down the field. They methodically picked up first downs to give themselves a chance. So when you get a look like this, and just in general on 3rd and 10 and plus territory, when you know you have 2 downs to get these 10 yards, you don't want to run all deep routes. But that's exactly what Alabama did. They ran all routes past the sticks, and the D-backs are just sitting there waiting for them. And the funny thing about it is Bryce Young had a perfect pocket here. It's just an awful play call because, as you see here, all these routes are deep routes. So if you're Bryce Young here, you probably just want to run and get as many yards as you can. Obviously, you have a clean pocket. Joe was so good at this versus Clemson. Pick up the yards you can't pick up and make it if Bryce would have just took off and ran from the get-go full speed, he might have gotten the first down. He would have gotten caught, but then you throw this pick into heavy coverage. I just hated that. And Bill O'Brien, these coaches just think, well, we got to get all the yards we possibly can. You don't run all deep routes with receivers who are struggling to catch contested passes like that. That was just horrible right there from Bill O'Brien. That was a terrible throw from Bryce Young. But still, you're setting them up to fail right there. You got to let your quarterback know, number one, we don't need all 10 yards here. And number two, you run some routes over the middle. Don't just run all deep routes with backup receivers when you know the ball, it's going to be a contested catch. You think it's Saban's playbook? Jordan Davis is a beast, but Jalen Carter, that block kick, if you're a diehard LSU fan, I want to see in the comments a national championship blocked kick. Which LSU player does that remind you of? Jalen Carter's block kick. Which LSU legend does that remind you of? I'm looking at you. Yes, you. Whether you're watching this on a big screen, whether you're watching this on a mobile device, on a computer, on your phone, on your wife's phone, on your husband's phone, on your side chick's phone, your side dude's phone, I'm looking at you. Tell me, who does that remind you of? In a national championship game, I want to see who my true modern day LSU football diehards. Not the Honey Badger. Not the Honey Badger. There we go. RJF. Where have you been, Justin? Tommy. By the way, I want to show you guys once again. Here's Tommy repping his booger bands, repping his cards. I gave him my last Swagoo card. I got to get more. I got to get more Swagoo cards. I gave you my last one. I'm missing it now. And look, Tommy's rocking the booger bands. Look at that. 3 for 25, baby. You know you want it. Ricky Jean Francois. Who can forget the greatest block kick in LSU history? And he also had one the next year that forced overtime versus Nick Saban. Ricky Jean was probably underrated. He probably is one of, we talk about underrated, overrated a lot. He probably truly is underrated. Block kicks change momentum. There's nothing quite like a block kick, right? Let's see, what card are we giving out today? Huh? See, I got some more in the mail. These have been a hot commodity. Next person that gets booger bands. Mofunky, I sent you one of these, man. 3 for $25. You're getting a Tyrann Mathieu gold holographed card. You know you want it, baby. I saw Ohio State beat writers say this national championship game proves that Ohio State's the best team in the country. I wanted to throw up all over myself once I saw that take. Johnny got himself a Tyrann Mathieu gold hollow. These have been very popular. I've had a lot of people request these. So I went and got some more in the mail. So you get one of these gold holograph Tyrann Mathieu cards. If you get booger bands tonight, I'll give them all out tonight. Why not? I don't know about Dante Starks. I just don't know. Good linebacker coming out, though. Coming in hot, KO from the OP via New York City. I don't think Emory's done. If Emory was done, he wouldn't have been practicing this entire time. I think he's going to play next year. Glenn, you were close. Yeah, Glenn was close, Greg. When I was Ricky Jean Francois, our best kick blocker. Honestly, he's our best. Jay Ward's a close second, though. He had the block versus Arkansas. Then he had one versus Auburn. Yeah, Ray, it did look like Bryce could have run it. It obviously would have depended on when he decided to run. He could have got it, if he would have just tucked and ran, like once he saw that opening there. But Georgia's guys have such good closing speed, he would have gotten caught eventually, especially, fatigue. He got really tired. He got hit quite a bit. So there you go. Shout out to Courtney. Thank you so much, Courtney. Appreciate you. She is our next Booger Band Club member. So, Courtney, you are definitely going to be getting some Tyrann Mathieu cards in the mail. All you got to do, Courtney, is shoot me an email, powerhourlsu@gmail.com. I think we're actually friends on Twitter. So, Courtney, shoot me a DM, and then I'm going to send you a Tyrann Mathieu card and some Booger Bands. Let's go. Congrats, Courtney. Mick, we hope you feel better. Get some good sleep. Claude Pickett's coming back was a factor last night. His catch was so good. To pluck that ball, that was such a clean catch. Yeah, it was huge. It was huge. Could you imagine him with an actual quarterback? It'd be wild. Yeah. So Nolan Smith on that play, that screenshot I just showed you, he definitely chases Bryce Young down. So that's probably a 5-ish yard gain. Look, I'll pull it back up just for you, Caucus. Night to Mick. Hope you feel better. So you see right here in the bottom right, Nolan Smith is getting off of this block. This right tackle didn't get this was a good pass pro set. So once again, if Bryce would have ran immediately when he saw this opening, Dean would have been able to catch him from that middle linebacker spot. And this DT Walker, who's getting double teamed, could have also gotten off this block and chased him down. So it's probably a 4 or 5 yard gain, and then you make it a 4th and 5, 4th and 6. Racist, no, I don't wear jewelry, but I'll buy a shirt when they come out. That's all good. Yeah, Nolan Smith is an animal. Those 5-star edge players, they're difference makers, right? You wonder why, like, I was standing so hard for Harold Perkins. Like, he's that kind of player. But to each their own. Many PHL visors. Huh? I love it. Yeah, but Bryce Young threw so many great passes last night. Even his incompletions were put on the money. Like, he's so daggum good. Yeah, and that's the right long-term thing to do as a quarterback. But, watching Burrow versus a better defenses, he would have definitely have ran there. He was so good at that. When you gave him an open field and you played off, he was so good at just rushing and taking those yards that were given to him, right? You would take Trigg over Billingsley. Well, the thing is, one of the best rookie finds or second-year finds, Notre Dame's like third string tight end has had a really good year for the Lions, right? The way BK is going to want to run things, he's going to want more tight ends. So you would take both of them, right? If you're Michael Trigg, I don't know. I don't know enough about Oklahoma, but I don't know if Oklahoma's ever really had huge tight ends with Lincoln Riley. So if you're Michael Trigg, you see what Brian Kelly's done. You almost came to LSU, right? You take whoever. Mm. So yeah, you take them both. Moore from Alabama. I do agree with you, Bruce. We haven't talked a whole lot about Cybo tonight. Osiris Torrance, that's his nickname, Cybo. First team All-American guard on Pro Football Focus. Would love a first team All-American guard. He'd be an upgrade. too much swag. Once again, the best code switch of all time was Joe Burrow celebrating with his white teammates and his black teammates after the AFC Championship game. That was just the best. I couldn't quit laughing at that. Oh, man. Joe is, they use this term all the time. So-and-so is one of one. I hate that. There's not many one of ones. Joe Burrow is one of one. He is a true one of one. Gonna play devil's advocate here, but all these kids jumping into the portal, there has to be something said about once a cheater, always a cheater. How low will they be to us just to leave again? Danny, I hope you don't say this as someone who has been through this. But I don't know if it's necessarily the same thing. Look, so Danny, you were here for the Jeremy Hill interview, and Jay Hill's in here now. Man, it's hard to say no to these other schools. It really is. Like, all these schools have elite facilities. All these schools have unlimited meal plans, amazing weight facilities, different part of the country. All these really interesting things, right? It's hard as a player to not okay, so Danny says no, she's never had to go through this. But a lot of you, Danny makes a good point. A lot of you have been cheated on before. She said just playing devil's advocate. Look, there's obviously differences, right? So if you're Elias Ricks and you're a big-time recruit and you go to Alabama, our rival, and you were playing a lot at LSU, that sucks, right? Don't do that. Don't do that. But, there are situations where, these, like, for instance, some kids just want to go see a different part of the country, right? They just want to go somewhere where, just somewhere different. And I've also known this. So my second year at LSU, I lived in West Campus apartments. So I was able to be around a lot of football players, hang out with them. They told me, things that I won't repeat about, some of the challenges that they went through as college athletes. But there was one player, and I'll share this. There was one player who told me, Carter, the one thing that's always been tough is my doubt. And I was like, what do you mean by that? And he said, well, just the thought of me making a decision when I was younger that will change my life forever. And you at 17 and 18 years of age have a free ticket to wherever you want to go. And what's hard is you are really focused. Like, you make a decision, you stick to it, you live life with no regrets. A lot of people don't. I'll say this. A lot of people say that they don't live life with any regrets or doubt, but they actually do, right? And I think a lot of college football players are like that, right? They make a decision, but it's hard because you do think the grass is greener because so-and-so school did have top-notch facilities and so-and-so schools did put so-and-so in the NFL, right? It's hard. And this is the sad thing about it. There's not enough slots. And what really sucks about the transfer portal is there's people, not everybody is a top 200 recruit that will for sure always have a slot. Who gets left behind are these 2 and 3 star kids, high school recruits that are grinding just for one scholarship, but schools don't want them because they want to save those slots for portal kids. Oh, Jay Hill. %87% of you think Jacoby's actually going to come. True, Pegasus. True. Okay. I didn't know this. I didn't know Big Boy's son went into the portal. LSU, you spend a slot to get Big Boy and 3 stacks on campus for a game. Outcasts in Tiger Stadium, I just want them in the stadium because they went to games at Oregon. 3 stacks and Big Boy. Now, Outcasts is a little different for those in their early 30s and above. Right? And there's also different level of Outcast fans. There's people like me who are Outcast fans, and then you have real Outcast fans who get mad at you if you say their best song is Miss Jackson. They're like, really? You're not an Outcast fan if your favorite Outcast song is Miss Jackson. You got to get a deep cut. And I don't know too much of their deep cuts. I'm going to be real. I don't know too much of any artist's deep cuts because I don't listen to music a whole lot. But I would love 3 stacks of Big Boy at a game. They performed at LSU when you were at LSU. What year was that, Robert? So Ludacris came and performed at LSU when I was at LSU, and I don't remember any of it. And ironically, I shared the 2 times I was the most obliterated at LSU was for the Mississippi State game with the Craig Lawson 100-yard pick 6 and that Ludacris show. I don't remember a thing. Don't remember a thing. Could you imagine Andre 3000? So fresh and so clean. Better than Rosa Parks? It's tough. Honestly, the right answer is International Players Anthem. The beginning of that song is angelic, right? That song gives me such a high every time I listen to it for the first time in a while. It gets me in a different level of mood. It's lyrically so genius, and it just tells like such an interesting little story. It's I remember hearing that for the first time. I was like, there's just no way that they made this song. There's no way that it's like when it's like when they played like when I heard T.I.'s Paper Trail for the first time. When I heard that album for the first time, I was like, this is truly amazing. When you heard Live Your Life by Rihanna on that album, when I heard that for the first time, I was like, that is truly crazy. I love that song. I was at LSU when that song came out. But honestly, Internationals Player Anthem, I mean, when that first came out, I just remember hearing the start and seeing the music video and just the everything. Like it was truly one of my coolest music experiences. Andre 3K has more bars than a Snickers fan. Jerry, I'm not even going to try. But really, though, when you first see it and you see everyone in the chapel and you hear Andre, like they act out the story. It's just so, everything about that was just perfect. LSU needs former Tigers who played in the NFL back on the sidelines without cash and asking them to help recruit. Imagine what a call from Jeremy Hill would do. It's true. You know, one player who I think would do a lot of good for LSU is Russell Shepard. I really do think so. I love me some Russell. I love me some Russell Shepard. So which version? Once again, so I'm not like a die-hard Outkast fan. I guess, let me see. I guess the director's cut, the music video with the chapel. I'll go with that. It's just crazy. Like when they made that song, did they know that they made something like that? UGK. Tyrann Mathieu needs to help recruit the DBs. Well, he did, right? With the Joe. Apparently, he knows Joe Big Play Foucher, right? Oh, so there's two. I didn't know that there was two versions. I didn't know. The only one I know is the one with the UGK. I didn't know. But once again, like sometimes when you put two A-listers on a song, it just doesn't vibe. I think the most overrated A-lister collab of all time is Timberlake and Jay-Z on Suit and Tie. Everyone tells me that song is just so great. I don't know. I just it just never. And I'm a fan of both of theirs, right? It just never really registered with me. Former players need to help with NIL. That is interesting, Claude. You know, I wonder how different. So, like for instance, like Tyrann Mathieu's given more than enough to LSU, so he's given $1 million for the facilities, right? I wonder if donations are going to change, like the philosophy around donations. Do you put money into different things? Do you put money into an NIL fund? Ozzy Osbourne got banned from LSU. That's great. Is OBJ's suspension from the campus over? You know what's funny, Kevin? I honestly don't believe OBJ's ever been suspended. I don't think. I just think that was window dressing. I really do. I think because I've seen LSU official accounts tweet out like Odell Beckham stuff, right? When there should have been a ban. What I think happened with Odell is they wanted to make an example out of a far more nefarious situation, which obviously was the Vidal Alexander part of the self-imposed sanctions. And they also want to, at the same time, to publicly talk about Odell with the crime of giving Justin Jefferson and Jontre Kirkland some cash, right? I think that's what happened there. So I honestly don't think he's suspended. I don't. What, is he going to show up to an LSU game and they say, nope, can't come in here? You only want to see Ole Miss game. That's it. Hell no. They're going to. I also think at the same time, Odell's actions after the 2019 championship game weren't the absolute best, right? I love Odell. I'm an Odell card collector. And it wasn't the fact that he gave the players money. I'm all for that. It's just a moment that should have been about 2019 LSU. The news became about him, right? There's plenty of players that acted normal on the sideline, former players who were there acted like normal human beings. So, once again, I love Odell. I honestly don't think he's suspended. Rob, I'm up early because there ain't enough light up in the daytime. You're up early. Where are you watching this from, Rob? Yes, Ray, you got to be careful. Kickers. Yeah, that's true. That's true. So what he did was against the rules, but it's not. That's my point. I think LSU was just slapping him on the wrist. So yeah, I just don't think it's that big a deal. I think that's what's going to happen, Bruce. Oh, my phone's blowing up. Apparently, Brandon Ingram had a buzzer beater tonight. Let's go, pals. That's a line from Pimp C. Once again, I wish I knew more about music. I wish I did. Yeah, Titus, we touched on this a little bit earlier. Welcome, Titus. It sucks. It does suck. But, when Frank Wilson comes to town, Frank Wilson's the best running back coach ever at LSU. So Kev Falk got a raw deal. Once again, it sucks. He's been through the worst this past year. But, at least he gets this moment. And, I hope a lot of the younger generation knows more about the LSU running back position outside of Clyde and Fournette, because Kev was the one that really got this thing going. So, yeah, Titus, it sucks, but, I also think stepping away from the grind could be a good thing for him as well. It's time for PHL NIL sponsorship. So, Jared, I've told this story before. I think you know this. Actually reached out to a player before the season. Shot him a DM. He was a prominent player on the team, and never heard anything back. And I tried, but yeah, I'm down to sponsor a player. Also, I do need to get a car first. So yeah, I mean, like, I'm fine financially, but that's also my full-time gig. But yeah, I need to get a car, need to get some other things as well. So yeah. Do you feel like we will get more high school signees, or is the rest of the class going to be transfers? I think it's going to be mostly transfers. I think, once again, obviously the three players you keep an eye out for is Jacoby Matthews, Harold Perkins, and Trevante Citizen, right? And obviously the more likely of those names is Trevante Citizen and Jacoby Matthews. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it sucks. So I shared this story. My car set on fire a few years ago, right? And that was at the time when, I was doing a bunch of YouTube stuff and I didn't need a car, right? But over time, you want to get another car. So then the Rona happened, and as many of you know, there is a chip shortage, and cars are just extremely high priced. So yeah, and we were living in a low rent shack for an extended period of time, and then we moved into a nicer establishment where I could have my own studio, and I didn't have to do my show in our living room and our laundry room. So yeah, I'm very fortunate though to have very generous people that help out with the channel. Yeah, he committed, but it's still not over. Danny Lewis. Yeah, it's true. Danny Lewis is also singing. The time committed to Cincy from Westgate, New Iberia, Louisiana. Car was on fire. So the engine, I got an oil change the night before and a brake change, and my Toyota RAV4 drove over a speed bump, but it wasn't like your traditional speed bump. It was your traditional like asphalt braille, like the highlighter speed bumps. You know what I'm talking about? Where you go over, it's like instead of a you know what I'm talking about? Asphalt braille. So legit, I drove over it at a slow speed, and right when I drove over it, my car just shut down in the middle of the road, and smoke started burling out of it. Flames were inside the engine, and I was right around the corner from where Haley works. I call Haley, she sprints down, and my car really started flaming. So we call the fire department. Fire department comes and sprays the whole thing out, and that's it. Jared says, I miss hearing the dryer buzzer in the background. Oh man, I do too. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. So yeah, I had insurance. You know, I got a check for it, but once again, the Rona started happening, so it was hard to go get another car. And I had started working from home, and I was like, you know what, I don't need a car right now. Haley and I were thinking about moving at the time. We were trying to figure out what was happening, and then we were all locked in. So there was no reason for me to go out and get a car. And then I started test driving some stuff, and nothing ever just really hit. So I've just been carless for a while. There's some good things about not having a car, and there's some really bad things about not having a car, right? Mayhem got me. Yes, Justin, we make a play for Kari G. So yeah, it is a wild story. I have photos on my Instagram. So yeah, I mean, it sucks, right? You don't want you. I'm very fortunate that I'm able to be in a position where I don't need a car, right? Our society is so heavily reliant on these very expensive 3-ton balls of metal. It's crazy. It's car culture is just wild to even think about, right? But we need them. You need to go from place to place. So yeah, it's pretty wild. You just gotta be careful. It is just so crazy. Like I was driving Haley's car the other day, and I just looked down at my phone to look at a crazy text my buddy sent me, and I was like, what the heck am I doing? What am I doing? You seen a car set on fire? Lyft and Uber. Here's my thing about people that have Lyft and Uber. And I'm like, you see how much these things cost to go 5 minutes? For a 5-minute ride. Yeah, that'll be $26.30. Really? You were just taking me a mile. Yes, there's a surge. There's no traffic on the road. And you took me off exit 86 down the street on Palm Street, took a left when it was only a mile drive. It's $26.37. But here's what you can do. You could save $5 on your next ride if you send a promo code and you ride in a car with 10 other people on an Uber Black. I'm like, really? Really? And I'm saving $5? I know, Danny. So what's crazy? There's a lot of Louisiana legendary athletes that run dealerships, right? So Aeneas Williams ran dealerships for a long time. Karl Malone runs a lot of dealerships. All these, Baton Rouge has a ton of dealerships. Tell them I miss my RAV4. I miss that. You took that $90 Uber from the Rose Bowl to the hotel in Anaheim. That actually makes sense. Honestly, that's probably not. That sounds very expensive, but the Rose Bowl is kind of out there. It's kind of like it's its own little thing. Gordon McGurnan will save LSU athletics. See, Caucus, I'm all about that bike life. I need to get me a bike. Yeah, Jay Ward back to CB. What's up, Seth? Good to see you, man. Ain't that the truth? But yeah, Kevin, I I'm sorry you got caught up in car discourse. I actually I answered this, but I could have done a better job answering. You know, Danny, you say moped. Yeah, I still don't want to see this Quincy Wiggins video that everyone's talking about. This is funny. Could see a little him wearing a basket shotgun on him. I'm all about that life. Huh? I could see that. I could see it. All right, guys. Here's what we're going to do. We're at the 2-hour mark. So over the next 5 minutes, I will answer as many questions as we possibly can. If not, we're going to wrap this up. Once again, coming up on the channel, we will have a Mike Denbrock deep dive. Karen Lacey, is that the wide receiver from UL? Kobe, good to hear you. Good to hear from you. Brett says, get a horse. Tell Devin White to sponsor the channel. I didn't know Michael Trick played basketball too. But yeah, I think Greg Brooks is the next one to jump on. Surprise transfer, we think we land. I'm all on the Drew Sanders hype train. We need linebackers. Danny, it's probably not much anything. It's a Big Mac. But you can get a BUI. Like you could be a cyclist and get a biking under. And I didn't know that. I did not know that was a thing. Nurse, there you are. No, that's not bad. Huh? Not bad at all. I'll send you a little bedly. See you, DRC. Get to hear from you too. Best one is when a cop watched me attempt to get on a bike for 5 minutes. Oh my God. Better than getting behind a car. Beat Florida. Anytime you could beat Florida, it's a great thing. To go Eastern Michigan. Charlie Batch offered him that millie. Why not? Well, all right, guys. This was a ton of fun. Thank you guys so much. God, let's go. Let's go. Y'all want to see the new shirts? Kidding. But really, do you guys want to see the new shirts? Or should I wait? Should I wait? For the 110 of you that stayed till the end. You want to see the shirts? All right, we'll do it. So these will, let me move this real quick. This is going to be the new shirt right here. Okay. And then here's what's really cool about it. Boom. How cool is that? So these did cost a little extra. How cool is that? But yeah, once again, I'm waiting on some other stuff that'll come along with the shirt. And Johnny said, Johnny, you're 2X, right? I see some people requesting 3X. I'm going to have to do that. I don't think I got any 3Xs. It's so hard to get 2X shirts. All right. I didn't see the Montrezl Harrell mask. Wait, I kind of want to look at it now. I'm a big NBA guy. That's a crazy thing. Well, all right, guys. Imagine one with PHL on the front. It could be big. Yeah, and it looks like an NFT, right? We'll see you guys. It is Power Hour LSU. Boom. I think we're doing yeah, and I'll get some 3X shirts. We're doing Sketty tonight. Let's go. Let's go.